Want to thank everybody for taking the time to jump on something. It's an evening in July, so that's always nice to see people come online. And this is, I think, a first for Ocean to do a webinar type session. Yep. So James and I last night, we did a little practice run, and I think we're good to go. So we've got Dr. Hill, we've got James Neuber, and we've got Mark Stevens here from Align. We're going to kick things off here with Mark. He's got a little bit to say about the new and awesome with iTero.
Hey everyone, if you want to go ahead and share the screen, Mark, and we'll get some quick presentation going. So I'm Mark Stevens. I'm the BC rep for iTero, and I'm just going to quickly run you through. If you want to start up that presentation here.
Yeah.
Got it. I'm just going to quickly run you through the newest iTero that was just launched a few months ago, and then I'll pass the show over to the stars here.
Uh-oh, security. That's never good. We're okay with it.
All right, here we go. All right, so the new iTero Plus was just launched, 5D Plus, sorry, was just launched back in February. So brand new technology out from Align. As we already mentioned, Align's been around for a long time. iTero's been around for a long time. Done a lot of restorative scans is what we're going to focus on today. But I wanted to show you the newest scanner. Here it is. So we have two different models now. We have the cart version, and we have what's called the mobile series. So what we've done is, instead of having the scanner with the laptop and everything that you need to cart around, you have to have a separate cart for, how do you clean in between the keys, all that, so that you can carry it around if you have multiple practices. If you have stairs up in your practice, you're able to move that around. It's even got a VESA mount connection in the back, so if you wanted to connect it to an arm, retractable arm, or whatever the case may be, then you're able to do that with ease. And then the cart itself, we've redesigned the ergonomics of it. It's just pretty slick too. We've actually done it in association with someone who works on Apple design. So we've designed a new ergonomically beneficial cart, reduced it by about 20% as well. So it's going to be that much easier to roll in and out of your ops. And you can see on the far left side of the picture, the front legs have been shortened more so than the back legs, so that you're able to pull it in closer for that patient communication, for scanning when you're sitting behind that patient. So we really redesigned everything, every aspect of it. And the computer itself is a whole new technology. So the computer is now 20% faster compared to the Element 2, 37% faster than the Element 1. You can stitch images together 50% faster. So you're talking some pretty serious speed now. In addition to that, we've just beefed up the computer in general. So we've added what's called an AI chip, artificial intelligence, because Align's focus in the near future is not going to be the hardware. We've got the computer to a spot where we're happy. What it's going to be focused on is going to be software. So we have a lot of plans that are rolling out in the next 24 months or so. And the AI chip is going to allow your computer to continue to be compatible and not slow down at all and not affect your scanning ability. So we're really excited about that. I think the future of iTero is going to absolutely blow away what you've seen in the last 10 years. So what can you do with the new iTero? You know, a scan is a scan kind of thing, right? But it's so much more than that now. Instead of just replacing your PVS, having that STL file that you have access to, in a single scan now, you're able to capture your 3D image that's available both in color as well as monochrome, so your STL file and your PLY. You have what's called near infrared imaging, so you're able to do your caries detection and all of that in a single scan, and you have your intra-oral photos. So those are taken automatically every 1/8 of a second while you're scanning. Okay, so this is a whole new imaging device now for your records. This is not just about replacing that PVS material. Let me give you an idea of what that looks like, because, you know, it's one thing to make a claim, but let's see it in action. So here you can see a live scan that I did, and by no means am I chairside scanning all day, every day. So there's quicker than me out there. And you see the little purple circle forming, that's a 60-second timer. And let's see how we do. So I'm just following along the arch in contact with the teeth. Very, very easy scanner to use for if you're worried about adoption with your team and are they going to be able to use it. The beautiful thing about the iTero is that absolutely everybody can use it. The nice thing about iTero as well that, you know, we really pride ourselves on is, instead of getting a patient that has said yes. Now I got to take that PVS impression. Hey, let's pull out the scanner and save on the PVS material, maybe save some time and have a nice fitting crown in the end. What we focused on is pre-treatment acceptance. So it's great if you have acceptance from a patient and you want to go ahead and put that implant in, put that crown in, great. But what about getting the patient to say yes in the first place? So now you're able to do a 60-second scan in which you capture pretty much all of your records, right? The information you're gathering here would be similar to taking your PVS impression, taking your intra-oral photo, series of 10 lower, series of 10 upper, taking your bite wing, right? 3 different angles you want to take, and you got your SLR camera as well. All is being replaced. That's about a 40-minute chairside appointment that you can now do in 60 seconds, as you just saw. From that scan, so that you can have a visual of what I'm talking about. There's the 3D image that you got in color. You can change that to SEL. There's the near infrared caries detection. So you could see right there, that little red circle. It's going to be the negative of what you see in your bite wing. So it's going to actually show up white instead of shadow. Very easy to detect. You will detect more carious lesions using this technology than you will using conventional bite wing. And you have your actual intra-oral photos, which is wonders for the labs now because the labs are actually able to access these photos. So if they need a little more information beyond the STL file, they can see that those photos that were taken every 1/8 of a second while you're scanning, and you're able to better diagnose. So the name of the game here is better records achieved in very quick time frame. You're talking about preventative dentistry now because you have better diagnostic tools. And then beyond that, you all have the clinical knowledge, but what's getting lost when you're talking to those patients using hand gestures, using photos, brochures, whatever the case may be, you now have the tools to communicate properly to those patients to get them to say yes. And there's just a little statistic showing we do have statistics on absolutely everything to do with the iTero. So if there's any questions about anything further on iTero, please let us know. Yeah, but I can tell you that there are a lot of apps and features beyond that, including time-lapse outcome simulator that I'd love to tell you about. But right now, I just wanted to give you the basics and pass it on over.
Thank you, Mark. Any quick questions for Mark? A couple quick ones. There's going to be a Q&A at the end, so if you want to save it to the end, then great. But if there's nothing to be asked, then we'll just continue on here. I'll give it a count of 10 in my mind. All right, I think we're good. Well, we'll make sure that we have Mark's contact for anybody that wants to get a hold of him, and we'll move along here. So next up, we have James Neuber and Dr. Stephen Hill. Always a pleasure listening to James, just a wealth of knowledge. And I'm excited for what these guys have to present tonight. We will be doing a draw. Initially, we wanted to do it on the camera, but we're going to wait till afterwards.
So we have so many late registrants too.
We've got so many late registrants. We're going to wait till the end. We're going to film drawing the name while we're enjoying a pint at the end. So we're going to post it on the Ocean Ceramics Instagram page, which will also post it on the Facebook page. So if you're not following us on Instagram, please do so. And without further ado, it's Dr. Stephen Hill and James.
Wonderful, thanks, Mark. So I'm just going to queue up the PowerPoint here. Okay. So I want to begin, first of all, by sharing that this is the first time that Steve and I are digitally presenting. And this has been an evolution for us over the years. We started teaching together, was it Steve, in late 90s?
AECD 1998, but before that.
Yeah, exactly. So everything evolves positively in our profession. When we started presenting together, Steve and I were presenting with slide carousels. And then we evolved to digital cameras.
Are you sharing your screen? Is that what you want to be doing?
It's still us.
Share screen.
Sorry, folks. Technical glitch. We'll get through it here fast.
Am I on?
Let's quickly check.
Share screen.
Share screen, yeah.
Most disabled person.
Oh, maybe I need to enable you.
Enable me, Mark.
It's my fault.
That makes me feel
I-
so much more powerful.
I'm so sorry. Yes, I just wanted to feel the power.
There you go.
There you go.
So now I hit share screen.
And then your little blue screen share at the bottom.
There we go.
Okay, everybody can see James' screen. Well, we can't, so yeah, we're good.
Okay, do we have thumbs up? My first slide's good.
You're good, yeah. Just to let everybody know, the Q&A box is open, so should you have any questions throughout the duration of the presentation, don't hesitate to ask any questions and we'll make sure that they get answered.
So yeah, I'll just rewind a little bit there. Steve and I, we used to start teaching together with carousel slides. So things have evolved now to our very first digital webinar presentation after so many years of teaching together. So it's a real pleasure to share with everybody remotely. This is what I call the carousel slide. So, so the big theme of our talk today is accuracy. Accuracy is the biggest driver in anything digital. Everything is transitioning from analog to digital in many different ways. So we really want to capture and share with everybody how we achieve accuracy with digital scanning and digital workflow. We want to be snipers with our records, so bullseyed in with any record that we do. We want to be hitting the accuracy. So let me ask everybody, what is clinically acceptable in dentistry, micron-wise? Well, right now, anything 40 to 50 microns, if it's within that, it's clinically superior accurate. So whether it's a contact, a margin, cement gap, a bite, all these physical attributes that have to come together, our goal is to be within 40 to 50 microns of accuracy or better. 40 to 50 microns. So why do we go digital for anything? It's for accuracy and efficiency. Any mechanical task can be digitized. Anything artistic, like picking up a brush and applying porcelain, cannot be digitized yet. I don't think it ever will. But if it's a mechanical task, it can be digitized. You can only digitize a mechanical function with supreme accuracy and efficiency. Impressions, models, articulations, bites, frameworks, abutments, photographs. Because efficiency on artistic tasks is very subjective, very subjective. So up here, we used to work with Polaroids. We used to layer on refractory. Somehow we deviated away from that. I think some of the finest cases that Steve and I have done in the past have been refractory anterior work. Same with our articulations. Stick bites. I'm going to show you how we use digital stick bites today. And of course, impressions. Accuracy and efficiency. So we can dial in bites with articulating paper, or we can T-scan. We can check jaw joint health for an evaluation with a stethoscope, or we can use a joint vibration analysis from bioresearch. We can evaluate muscle health with palpation, or we can use EMG readings from bioresearch. Digital equilibration, T-scanning. We can actually dial in forces from one quadrant to another. Is it 75% or 24 here? The goal is to maybe get 50-50. That would be the gold standard, if possible. Joint vibration analysis, health of the jaw joint. These are all things that we look at in our Dent 4 program. Digital envelope of function. We can actually measure the velocity of the jaw function and the path and range of motion. Digital radiographs. This happens to be me. I know exactly where my jaw joint position is. I can evaluate my airway here. Digital articulation. Accuracy and efficiency. I have yet to meet a dentist that doesn't want accuracy, efficiency, and consistency. And that's what we want to show you how to achieve with our talk today. So I want to do a quick review of the best analog impression crown and bridge records, because what we find with a lot of dentists that we work with, as they've evolved from analog to digital, if they haven't got clinical fits figured out analog, they think digital is going to solve their problems. Maybe, but we always want to make sure that they're getting great fits out of the gate with a PBS system as well. So I just want to share quickly how we do that. So we are very strong advocates of honeycomb impression material and status blue opposing material. Several of our clients are working with this system and get fantastic fits. And also bite registry. We work with a material called Old Bite. This is not, it's not great because of the brand. It's great because of the rigidity of the material. And you want to use a specific technique where you only inject it over your preps and then have the patient clench into that material, verifying the centric occlusion that you want to achieve with your restoration. So the analog science for the best fits is all impression materials shrink and all diastones expand. We know that this impression material, honeycomb, will shrink 0.05%. So if you had to ask yourself, whatever impression material you're using today, do you know what its shrinkage factor is? We know for sure that our diastone, when it's digitally water powder measured, it expands 0.05%. So it offsets each other. That's how we get such amazing good fits with contacts and bites, especially with solid trays. And I'm going to show you some data to prove that. And data is the best four-lettered word in digital dentistry because you have to follow the data. So the science with our success is the stone expansion must precisely offset the impression shrinkage. How accurate is that model? Why is it relevant? Because adjustments cost money, the old cliche. So how accurate is the model in microns? What is clinically expected and acceptable for a regular crown prep versus an implant crown? Okay, so here's a trivia question mark I want to throw, and let's see if somebody's going to type in here.
Yeah.
Okay. It's very common. We get prescriptions and a doctor will write on there, dual foil relief on the occlusion. So let me ask everybody here, how many microns is dual foil relief? How many microns? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 150, 200. Anybody answers there?
Nothing yet.
No?
We got a 25.
25?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you see here on the screen on this yellow arrow is I took dual foil and I folded it in two and I put it into the micrometer. It's 100 microns. 100 microns is 1/10 of a millimeter, which is a country mile. So we always ask ourselves, why do we feel we have to allow such space, allowance with bites? We know people don't want to adjust their bites into place, but typically we check our occlusions with a 40 micron occlusal paper on a single unit. Now, here's another piece of trivia. Floss. Everybody wants a floss snap contact on their proximals. How many microns is a piece of floss? How thick? How many microns? Any takers?
Nobody yet.
Nobody yet? So
There might be a prize.
what I did was I took out floss,
60. Yeah, 60.
close. But here's the key. You want to ask yourself, if you're testing a contact with floss, is it waxed or not waxed? Because if you're using unwaxed floss, it's a 50 micron thickness. If you're going to use wax floss, it's 100 microns. So you have to, if you're looking for that floss snap on your contacts, check it with unwaxed floss, because that's going to be your true floss snap. If you're going to do a 1/10 of a millimeter check through a contact, it's going to yield you a false reading. So I just use the unwaxed floss when you're checking your contacts. So here's some data that we've collected over the years. Fact, of all our internal data at Ocean Ceramics, 98% of all of any remake, I'm not saying 98% of our cases are remakes, I'm saying 90% of 8% of any remake is a direct result of a faulty impression. So another consideration for fit and seating is cord or no cord technique. So what I'm going to do is, this is where I kick Steve into action, because one of the things that Steve's done of all the cases that we've done together is he prepares amazing preps, but we never have to guess where his margins are. They're absolutely crystal clear. So Steve, take the torch and show us how you get those crystal clear margins that not only an impression material will pick up, but that the camera can see.
Well, this is kind of taking us back away from the digitization and the increase in technical kind of stuff, because Marcy and I actually learned this in dental school. You prep, you get an idea of what you want, you check some of the clearances, and then you pack a cord. You prep down to where that cord stops, and then you pack a second cord. And just to bring that case home, there's the second, oh no, this is actually the first cord. And then we look down it to make sure that we've prepped appropriately. If you see the straight line across here, it's about equidistance from here to here. This is a proper amount of reduction on the incisal and on the facial that gives us the chance of getting the crown exactly in the right position with the proper thickness of porcelain. There's a second cord that goes on top, and then we snap the impression. This is what James is referring to. When you can see it like this, and if you can see it in your scan, this is good. There are times when at 6 or 7 millimeters under a gum line, you can't see. And if you can't see it, you can't capture it with a digital impression material. That's about all I got to say about that.
So remember a couple points here. If there's a bad material or a bad technique or both, these are the kind of results that we've seen come in the lab. This is a case Steve did just the other day, but no, that's okay. It's not.
He can fix it. Don't worry. He does it for me.
Do the best you can. We've had several of these come across the board before. But
right, do your best on the prescription pad.
But here's a reality, folks. I want to share about this case right here. This doctor did lose his license over time. Not because of this one case, but there was a very legitimate track record with this one doctor. So I want to talk about the digital trap. I want to give you all a taste of the journey that we've been on ever since. We were actually one of the first iTero labs in Western Canada, along with a few other big labs, but we jumped on the trend really, really early because we saw the future coming. And here's the trap that I want to make everybody aware of in your digital journey, especially with restorative dentistry. And the trap is that just because it's digital or that it's a scan, that it's going to be instantly perfect. It could be the assumption with a scan or a scanner. It could be with a model, milled, printed. It could be with a bite registration. What I want to show and share with you all today is how to get a proper scan. Doesn't matter what scanner it is. iTero is great. There's lots of other ones. But then also with how that data is translated and use a milled or printed model versus a stone cast. I showed you the accuracy factor that we had with the analog impressions. And at the end of the day, we want this all come together because we all want adjustment-free prosthetics in the end. But the digital trap is that just because it's digital, it's going to be perfect. So we can throw models in the garbage. We don't need that. We can just mill it and it's right. There's a lot of handcrafting still, even in the digital journey. There's a lot of love from the hands that has to go into these digital records to get the results that we expect. So let's look at digital impression techniques. So I did some searching, and Steve and I have over the years, we've always been science guys. We've never been theory guys. We always want to see science, and we want the science to be proven. So I did a lot of digging, and I found in the Journal of Prosthetic Dentistry, which is, I believe it's peer reviewed, isn't it?
Of course.
Yeah, okay, well. So anyhow, this is the effect of scan patterns. And I want to share with you, go back to the digital trap. What we've noticed in the journey is a doctor will hand the scanner over to an assistant and say, okay, scan up the patient. And we have no idea what the level of training, expertise, and technique is for scan pattern. We can tell by some records sometimes that the wand is just jammed in the mouth and willy-nilly, picking up data. And this is not where we want to go, because we don't want to get in the trap that it's just a digital scan, so it's got to be perfect. So I've been digging around, and I found actually data that there is a great scanning pattern technique that we want to employ. So in this study, they actually looked at 4 different scan pattern techniques. So I'm not going to explain what all these patterns are. I'm happy to share the slide with anybody that wants it. But I want to show the results of all these different scan patterns. And let's do another little trivia between 1, 2, 3, and 4. Which one does anybody think out there is the most accurate scan pattern? Because some manufacturers of any scanner, they'll pitch, this is the best scan pattern. And we put a lot of faith in our suppliers, but I want to show the data of what's the most accurate scan pattern. Because at the end of the day, what we're doing with the scanner is stitching data together.
We got a number 2.
Okay, that's a vote for number 2. Anybody other votes out there?
3 more votes, so we're not moving on.
Okay.
Just kidding. Well, we got another 2. Yeah, all right.
Okay. So what they did is they took all these scan patterns of data with different scanners. 4 different scanners were tested, and they just layer them all together, and they're looking for all the standard deviation, the average data of what's most common. So I'm not going to read every data here, but they basically scan pattern 1, 2, 3, and 4. They got a iTero Element, an Emerald, Omnicam, and a Trios. Scan pattern number 2 is the winner, and it just makes sense. Everything is in a fluid pattern, back and forth, back and forth. And then all this anterior data here is overlapped with this anterior data here. And I'll show you the significance with the next study, because what we're going to look at in the next study is that quadrant scanning is more accurate than cross-arch scanning. And what happens is this is significant also when we go down to model work later on. But I don't want to get ahead of myself, of course. So scan pattern technique. So anybody that wants this slide, I'm happy to email it out. Love sharing information. Okay, so PubMed, they did a study here. 12 intraoral scanners in the full arch implant impression, a comparative in vitro study. Okay, here's the baseline. They took a stone cast with impression analogs, put scan bodies in here, and then they did all sorts of linear quadrant scans and arch scans and measuring the data from point to point. So here's the patterns. So they're measuring the accuracy between each scan body in a quadrant, this quadrant, and they're also measuring the accuracy from this scan body to this scan body. This is the highest risk area to capture accurately with a scanner because it's the data that's farthest away from each other across the arch. So when we go quadrant, outstanding accuracy, cross arch is the big question when we're evaluating actual scanners. So we'll go back to anything inside 40 to 50 microns is clinically acceptable. So when we look here, green is good, blue is bad or inaccurate. It's a sign of inaccuracy. So each scan or each arch here represents a brand of a scanner. Here they all listed. Here's that graph once again of all the scan data patterns and all the data. So what we're looking at here is the standard deviation, the mean errors. Each bar here represents a scanner. Narrow is good. And these blue lines here represent 50 microns, 50 microns. Anything within 50 microns of accuracy is clinically acceptable. So here, linear distances on quadrant scans. Lots of scanners are outstanding. But let's have a look what happens when we do cross-arch distances. The data changes drastically. We have a couple grades. iTero scored really high. I'm going to pump Mark's tires here with his product. It's really good. There's a couple other good scanners there are very clinically acceptable. But this data means a lot to me. And what means a lot to me too is it answers a lot of questions when we have had questionable fits with full arches sometimes, not single units. But when we do hybrids, try to do hybrids digitally, it's very, very subjective sometimes to do a hybrid digitally unless you're picking up abutments in the mouth. So when we're doing hybrids, we always advocate PVS impressions for this very reason. But the market's wide open with accuracy for quadrant scanning. We really want to take a close evaluation on scanners with cross-arch scanning ability. Scanning conclusion. I really want to stress scanning technique is just as important as PVS impression technique. This I'll go back to the digital trap. Do not assume that just because it's digital, it's going to be perfect every time. We have to employ scanning technique and so that we can get a proper record that's pumped into whatever lab the record's going into if we want to achieve adjustment-free results. Bites. Boy, I got to take a sip of water before I talk about bites. I think the most common overlooked technique in the digital world that we've seen is bite inaccuracies coming in. So I'll go back to when we first got involved with iTero at the very beginning, we weren't even importing digital data directly into the 3Shape software. We were scanning their models in. But one thing John Martin told me, but way back in the day when he started up with iTero, is he says, always, when you're taking a bite scan, have that patient clench into place. They must clench because you just think about this. We take this scanner and the patient's numb. And all of a sudden we put a wand into their mouth to take our record. What's the body's natural instinct when something goes into the mouth? It's going to want to just neurology. It's going to want to open. It's going to want to resist. So it's very important that you instruct the patient to clench and hold that position that you verify while you're doing the bite scan. Very important. Because once we've seen people employ that little tip and trick, we have seen the records come in way more accurate, whether it's a quadrant or a cross-arch scan. So I want to show also night guards. So I'm going to hold up a model here to the camera. So I'm going to try and. This happens to be my son's upper and lower, and I took an airway bite on him. So you can see if this was an analog record for mounting, which we did, we injected O-bite from the back to the front, back to the front. But you can see if we were to scan this, the bite registration material would be obstructing the data to do a mounting. So what you want to do is after you take, whether it's a phonetic bite, George Case bite, whatever you're going to do, we want to, with that bite in place, take an anterior jig. So I use a little piece of putty. You can also use a rigid PVS bite rag. You want to take an anterior jig. Okay, I'm going to try and hold this up to the camera. Is that in focus, Mark?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. So we want to take an anterior jig here. Then you remove your posterior segment. Leave the jig in place. Now you go and do your bite scan, because now you have the ability to capture all this vestibular data and, of course, the teeth. And, of course, you're going to do that for both sides. Does that show up okay, Mark?
Yeah. Put it in front of the camera again. Just
Okay. I'm just going to put that here.
Got a lot of
Closer?
Yeah.
So you can see once we stabilize that jaw position with the putty jig, now we can go and we have clear ability to scan the data. It's because once you have, I'm going to take this apart here. Scan the upper, you scan the lower. You use the anterior jig. So now you have the ability to scan all that data, teeth and tissue, for accuracy. And when, this is how the bite will come in to the lab. So now we have the ability to design right from a straight digital file. So in this situation, we made a anterior deprogrammer with a palatal ramp to position the jaw down and forward so that my son can breathe well at night, and deprogram his clenching in the night also. This is a common technique, the phonetic bite, that we teach at the Den of 4 program that is taught by Dr. Edmund Liam and Dennis Marangos. And we'll be firing up those courses here coming up in the fall and the spring, so stay tuned for those dates. Not a big deal. Okay, so if you're doing just a standard night guard, just shoot a bite, just tell your lab where that jaw has to be. If we ever do a night guard, we just open it on the pin, you're always going to have tons of adjustments in the mouth. So whatever your bite technique is, to have that night guard be adjustment free. Just going to get my little sticks here. There's another demo. Just put a popsicle stick, whatever thickness you want that bite open for a night guard, then go ahead and scan. Okay. So once again, this is our goal. Impression scan into the lab. Prosthetic goes back to the clinic.
Oh, there's a question here.
Okay, is it on the previous slide?
Can we just pause on the share screen? Because they want to see it like not in our small screen, like a full screen
of what?
Of the view of the demo.
Okay, so go back a slide.
Nope, just pause where you're at.
Oh, okay.
Stop the share of your screen.
I'm hitting share screen.
Stop share. There should be a little red X. And click that. They just want to see the demo on the camera. And then you'll reshare right away after.
I'm going here.
This
New
is
share.
yeah. This is all for you, Marcy.
Okay. So now hit stop share.
Okay. Can you see it better now? And I'll put the model up for the camera so that they can see, which makes sense because it would have been fairly small on the
Okay.
screen before.
So I'll just repeat that again. If you're taking a bite for a night guard,
Yeah, go ahead. Keep
oh, that close?
Yeah, keep chatting.
Oh, okay. Mark's getting a good. You're trying to get the right light.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
We got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I need to, did you want me to repeat that technique?
I don't think you need to
Just want to get a screenshot?
yeah, are we good now? Do we need to, we don't need to repeat it. We just wanted to see it, correct? All good. Yep. Continue on. So you
Okay.
want to share your screen again?
Okay. Okay.
There we go.
So we're all good to proceed?
Continue. Yep.
Okay. Thanks for the questions, everyone. That always is, finds that encouraging. Okay, so we'll just continue on. So we get a good scan record. We pump it into the lab. And then we want to get the prosthetic back to the clinic adjustment free. Let me just ask, how do we know if a printed model is accurate? What's the printing accuracy out there? It seems like there's so many different printer systems being promoted out there. And we went through I researched printers for about a good year before we invested in one. And I'll give full props to my buddy Mark Ferguson down in Alabama. He taught me a lot about digital lab work. But he taught me a very valuable principle on how to test printing accuracy. Let's look at model analysis. What is clinically acceptable? So we'll go back to one of the first slides. Anything within 40 to 50 microns is clinically acceptable. But how do you know if the model is clinically accurate? So I call up my buddy Steve one day. We're making a single crown. And I said, Steve, I got an idea. We're going to make you this crown. I know it's going to fit good. We had a great quadrant scan. But I says, would you do me a favor? And before you cement the crown, could you take 3 impressions of that quadrant arch with 3 different techniques before you cement the crown? So I don't know how much extra time that took, Steve, but it probably took you close to 45 minutes to an hour to actually execute all these records for me. But I wanted to analyze, because I had a baseline of a great digital scan, I want to analyze the discrepancy of all these different impression techniques against this scan, which is a 1-to-1 duplication of accuracy. So what I did also is I took that file and I sent this off to a third-party milling center for a milled model. This is iTero's model. This is, I think, an Asiga Max model. And I think this is a Carbon. And this was some knockoff printer that we used to work with very beginning, but we don't anymore. So these are the 3 impressions that Steve took before he seated the crown. One is a honeycomb stock tray. Cheap putty wash stock tray technique. This is actually a great tray technique. These Whitmix trays are fantastic, or water pick trays, they're awesome. And then we have a honeycomb triple tray. You're going to be amazed at the data between the triple tray technique and the stock tray technique. So we'll look at the triple tray. So what we did here is the gray data that you see here is the intraoral scan. The beige data is the stone model that's been scanned in. And then what we do is we take these data points here and we align the 2 files together. And then we measure with a 2D cross-section tool here. And now I can zoom in And I can take and measure exactly what the discrepancy of accuracy is on these contact points. So when I zoom in, this contact right here to the molar is 80 microns short. When I look up here to the mesial, the distal of this bicuspid, it's also 80 microns. This is 82, and this one's 81. So I know I've got bilateral, same shrinkage value and expansion, but I can tell by the tray technique, it has distorted the tray, it has distorted the record of the mouth by in total 160 microns. 80 microns is double than what we would expect. If we made a crown to triple tray here, I guarantee you Steve would be grinding and cussing about the fit of that crown. Because the problem with triple trays, and this is how everybody understand with triple trays, especially the plastic, they're the worst. They're flexible. So when a patient clenches into place, the walls, they bow out. And what happens to a material with memory? It bows back in. And when it flexes back in again, everything elongates in the middle. So everything becomes tight with this record. 82 microns on one side, 81 on the other. This is actually on the left, an extracted tooth that somebody sent in for a shave. And I looked at this thing and I went, my gosh, look at this gap here. I could fit a toothpick in here. And then the doctor obviously ground this contact, the oblivion. This is what we obviously do not want to deal with. So I put a big triple tray caution out there. If you're going to use a triple tray, do not have the patient clench into place. It's high risk for distortion. Take a little old bite, inject it over the prep, then have them clench into place. Your data capture of your mouth will be 100% more accurate. I guarantee you. Okay, so let's look at, here, contact's too wide, prep's too short. So now let's look at the stock tray, the honeycomb stock tray. Now we're talking superior accuracy. Same patient, same impression material, different tray technique. Now we get a 50 micron contact here. We get a 50 micron contact here. We check the contacts with a 40 micron tape. I guarantee you that crown's going to drop into place with a 50 micron floss snap. Absolutely. That is why the data proves that our original analog PVS honeycomb system will yield proper adjustment-free fits. So let's go into the printed world here of evaluating now a different printer. So what I did was I took that master file that Steve scanned and I sent it off to a bunch of different printer companies and said, send me a model. I want to analyze it. I want to analyze the accuracy. So I sent one off to Whitmix and they sent back a very decent model. This contact was 19 microns accurate, and it was, I can't see, there's that 13 microns there.
Yeah.
The prep was decent. It was a great model. I had no complaints there at all, and I've heard good things about their printer systems. But my gut feeling said I didn't want to invest in it. Don't know why. And then we also sent it off to a carbon, a milling center that had a carbon printer. So the cost was a big deterrent for us, $50K for 3 years commitment. And it was just like not going to work for us at all. So, and I wasn't too impressed with this model that came back because this contact was 11 microns. This one was like, is that 64?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what concerns me there is one was good and the other one was not too great. I'm always looking for things to be in the ballpark, whatever dimension I'm looking at when it's a contact. So, anyhow, I wasn't too impressed there, but hey, it is what it is. Now we took the iTero milled model and scanned it in and aligned it to the original. Once again, I'll just review again. This gray data here is the original iTero scan model. And this is the milled model that we merge together. And we do the 2D cross section. Fantastic. 22 microns accurate. 25 microns accurate. I just have to check that contact with a 15 micron foil, and it just has a little bit of tension and it still pulls through. I know it's going to be a perfect fit. It was, the milled models were superior when they first came out because we had the confidence to take that model and we would scan the model in and make a case from it, because we didn't have at the very beginning the ability to import the digital file directly. But all of our cases, all digital files right now, of course, they're directly designed upon. So then before I pulled the trigger, of course, on buying a printer, I got this, you can see in the background here, a doctor sent in a full lower of prep teeth. And I says, okay, I sent it off for a model. I got the model back. I forget who the supplier was, the Million Center. And I got this NextDent 5100 model. So now I thought, okay, I'm going to really analyze the test. And I wasn't even aware of the cross arch study that I showed earlier. But I wanted to see what's the cross arch accuracy from this data point to this data point. And I did the math. It was within 8 microns. That sold it for me. So that made me decide to invest in that printer. It didn't take long. We have 3 of those 5100s going full steam now, and they're just amazing. So now the digital trap. We think that everything is consistent with everything all the way through and perfect every time. Such is not reality. We have to have systems to always follow the data whenever you have a clinical challenge pop up. So we had some feedback coming back that, hey, the contacts are a little snugger than they're usually used to. I says, okay. So we start scanning models in. And so what I did was, I says, okay, this is a case that we did 5 units here, 4 or 5 units for Dr. Marangos in Toronto. Give us a wave, Dennis, if you're on, because I thought you registered. So anyhow, I took this file, and because it had lots of undercuts on it, and the toughest models to print for accuracy are ones with undercuts, contacts with undercuts, because it's hard to print into thin space. So I did a test. I sent this file off to EnvisionTech, and I says, hey, I want to test the accuracy of your printers. So they sent me back models with from their D4K printer and also their Envision-1 printer. And I did an analysis similar to what I was showing you before. And what I determined, their D4K printer was putting out some really, really good accuracy. Vision-1, we had just arrows pointing down is not good. But once again, I was testing cross arch, linear evaluation, and contact accuracy. So we did get some decent results here on the D4K, and we moved on. Now here's that same model here. What we do, if you ever get a model back from us and it has these numbers on here and markings, this means that this model has been scanned in, and and we've actually measured the discrepancy on this contact here, so that we know how to determine the accuracy of the contact appropriately at final checking, so that the contacts drop into place. And this 1, 2, 3 arrows up means the accuracy of the preps. And when I say accuracy, I mean, if I had to, would I wax something on these preps, on this model? The preps are great, what Dennis did, but would I wax? If I had to wax something on here, would it be accurate? And so this is like 3 arrows up, which is amazing. But the journey I went through is I went to the tech support and engineers at 3D Systems Adrian, Lars, you guys are amazing tech support stars that helped us out, because we literally got these contacts dialed in to amazing accuracy. This stands for printer 1, this is printer 2, and I don't have printer 3 on here, but everything is consistent, is fantastic. So thank you guys if you're on screen, if you're logged on. So we just love this system also because it has so much versatility for our surgical guides, temporaries with, it's amazing, really a cool thing we do with this temporary material, because it's composite based. We'll actually make overlays for opening bites, and so doctors will just bond it directly into place instead of PMMA. So I haven't told you about that because I know you had challenges with PMMA. But and then we're also going to be beta testing the OrthoFlex they have coming out for night guards and appliances, like I was showing you with the bite techniques earlier. So lots of cool stuff coming down the pipe for orthotics and night guards and stuff. So let's get back to, once again, our workflow. Impression, into the lab, back to the clinic. Printing accuracy is hands down adjustment free now. If you're sending a digital file into a lab and getting back tight contacts, high bites or whatever, I can 99% assure it's either bite technique, not verified with an accurate model, or something else. I don't know this. Gremlins. So here's a checklist for any digital impression. We go through our criteria whenever we invest in technology, but once again, it must be proven accurate with data, not just word of mouth. Must be reproducible data and an accurate model for a prosthesis. Once again, labs, us, we live and die by the micron. So we have to be able to measure data by the micron. It must be feasible for the various products in the workflow. We've seen people invest in systems and I go, well, how do you plan on recouping that? Well, I don't know. It just sounds cool. Okay, well, it's an expensive toy, but we have to be able to make sure that it makes a feasible business model. And this is the very most important one. You must, before you invest in any piece of technology, you must have quality tech support. Because when you're in the trenches, you need tech support. I know that firsthand because that's what has helped us move forward so fast. Anytime we've had a challenge with an iTero record or what have you, Mark's been an absolute star at helping out doctors in the trenches. So have no issues there at all. And their tech support on the back end has been very good for us as well. Very important. Okay, this is a nice little implant case we did. Okay, I want to go back to, you want to be a sniper with your records, hitting the bullseye with your impressions. That's the goal for when we're talking about accuracy through our talk today. So back to the best analog crown and bridge records compared to digital. This is our master opposing our bite record. And now I'm going to pass the torch over to Steve because he's going to be talking about being a sniper as well.
Yeah, have to forgive me here. We just got to move through this. This is a bit of a movie. There's a bunch of information here.
You got to start there when you're
ready.
Okay.
This is the classic giggle. If you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. So I want to show you. This is Mark Stevens is probably trembling here at the moment. These are scans from the iTero 1. And that I'm still, well, no, I'm on to 2.9 now. I haven't gotten up to the element yet, but I'm just using up the last of the heads on the one that's still working. And then I'm going to have to get back into business here. So I just want to show you, you have to, there's a couple of things that come up to questions. Let's do an analysis of this. Have I taken enough tooth structure away? And so I get a bite registration or reduction measurement in 0.1 to 0.2 millimeters. So if I need 1.5 and I've got 1.7, I'm good. So I know I've got the clearance that I need for this case. Turn off the stuff, take a look down. You can't hold a mirror in a wet, steamy mouth and get to know that you've got perfect guidance, not guidance, what is it? Draw, perfect draw. So if you don't have draw, you stop. You go back to tooth number 3.8 or 3.7, erase the file and fix it so that it draws properly. It's only 3 more pictures to take, and then you got it perfect. You don't even have to wait 5 minutes for the material to set. It takes less time than that. And those models that I took for you for that study, probably 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
That would have been it. So from there, I want to go into this next bit of stuff here. No, I don't want to do that again.
Next slide.
Next slide. Is this?
Oh, I just wanted to review here, digital case protocol for adjustment pre-fits. With video type scanners, we like to say, equilibrate your occlusal prior to anesthetic. Patient's going to feel sensation a lot better and you'll be able to see and manage the bite coming together. Then bite scan by the CDA, including all vestibular areas, course clench, master scan, scan the master arch, then scan the opposing. Then the doctor can go in and anesthetize and prep the teeth, and then only rescan the prepared teeth and merges the data to the master scans. So that's the when you're doing the video type technique, but Steve's doing a little bit differently. Oh,
Hang on a second.
my apologies. I forgot to tell you I was doing this.
Thank you so much. I wanted to add though that
Yeah.
if we can,
Did you want to go back?
let's go back to the video. You took the single one out,
I did.
the single crown.
That's later.
Oh, that's coming up.
That's
Okay.
coming up.
Let's run this one again to see if we
Okay.
can.
You,
Just to his point about, did you capture the right bite? I don't know if it's in here. Okay, so when the screen comes up with both on, and you hit the don't show thing, it's been trimmed.
okay.
Because it's just a surface representation of it, you can tell if the teeth on either arch are touching by looking through one side or the other, because it shows up like the color. There are 2 different colors on the inside, and if it shows up in a couple of different colors and you've got 3 points, you know they were clenching when they did it, so that the bite will be accurate.
I wanted to include here the reason why I caught Steve off guard with these photography photos here is because we actually, at the very last second today, we had a couple requests come in about digital photography. And so when we're scanning and designing, everything we design a smile from is based on these photos right here. So that's why I wanted to do a quick review. And these pages here are pulled right off our website. So we want to take a portrait here. We want to take a digital stick bite photo. This is very, very important record whenever we're dialing in any anterior work. Very important. We want to do a full E type of speech pattern to capture the buccal corridor as wide as possible. And then we want this jaw and the lips and repose as relaxed as possible, because we want to see where we're going to develop the central length from. Absolutely critical photos. It's only for if any of your staff want training how to take these. I do it in office or online. It's all good.
So I've just checked with
Yeah.
Mark Stevenson. You can take these kinds of photos with the iTero element system.
So sorry, you can take the scan and marry it to these photos.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Perfect. Okay. For shade records, I want to do a very quick review here, because what we find, once again, we get into the digital trap. Okay, just because it's digital, it's got to be perfect. But you know, at the end of the day, we're making a piece of art, ceramic art, that we're sending back. So if you would like nice, vital shades to emulate more like teeth and not as much as shade guides, what we want to do is I want you to always look at teeth in 3 zones or more. So the first thing you want to do is choose the value with the Chromoscope 3D guide. Choose the value of the tooth. Then you're going to pick the chroma, and the gingival, the zone 2 is your gingival chroma, and your incisal is where we want to create and communicate translucency.
Got a quick question here.
Okay.
Emma, is it hard to train patients? Any tips?
Yeah, good question. Okay. Steve, turn your chair here. Okay. Steve, what we want to do is we want to evaluate exactly where we want your starting point of your central teeth to be as we develop your new smile. So here's what I want you to do. Go Emma.
Emma.
Okay. Here's what I want you to do. You commonly went Emma. What I want you to do is I want you to relax these facial muscles and just let your jaw hang in space. Go Emma. And let gravity do what it does.
Emma.
Okay. Click. Now go E.
E.
Look at that bright buck quarter. Okay, look at me, and I'm taking my picture. So we have to coach the patient to the record. And that's how I teach people how to also treatment plan smiles and have patients see their treatment through this photography techniques. But if that's what we have to do, we have to train the patient to be relaxed as we try and capture that record.
And burst photography on the phones is too fast for this. Take multiple single pictures just to make sure you got one for Lloyd, you got one for insurance purposes.
And folks, I really cannot stress enough to invest in a digital SLR camera. And I'm more than happy to help people get set up with the system there, the right system to get those records so that we have amazing photography to do these smile presentations. It's really a joy for me to teach people to do that. So back to the shade taking. If that explanation was good, can somebody just throw a mark over here, a thumbs up, or a yes,
Or a request for more
or a
information.
request for more? It's all good. Okay, so we'll go back to whenever you look at a tooth, always look at the middle zone first and choose the value and then the chroma in that value range. Then look at the gingival quarter or third, and then of course the incisal. And most of all, you're going to photograph it. We want the shade guide in the photo. Look at the detail in these photos. There's no way you could just send this case in and go A2 or A3 or whatever you may be, because we need to communicate this type of detail to the lab. So that's why what we always do is you want to email any photos into photos@oceanceramics.com, and in the subject line, put the patient's name and the doctor's name. I forgot to type that in here. Very, very important, because we get hundreds and hundreds of photos emailed in, and we have a massive server log of patient data. Anybody want tips and tricks on photography? Give me a call. Okay, Steve, digital impression taking.
The future is now. Do you know how old this slide is?
I know, but it's still relevant.
This was part of that 1998 thing that we did here in Vancouver. So you won't see photos like this on or graphics like this on the new systems. They look much more like teeth. But the contrast, I think, sort of seals what the point is of this particular set of slides. Digital scans performed with iTero, quite literally digitally perfect. This type of stuff rarely needs to be reimpressed. So the most important thing in my world is the immediate feedback that you get when there's no tongue, there's no saliva, it's up on a screen, it's magnified about 10 times anyway, and you can really honestly see it. It's not like you got lost under a margin or under a pool of saliva, and it allows for instant adjustments right by the chair side. So iTero invested in a whole bunch of these kinds of programs where they'd go in none of the these are real dentists. These are real patients getting real scans and getting real dentistry done. Nobody's identified. It's just making the point. So this is dentist's first patient on the first day. This is the first prep he's ever done or her and scanned at the same time. And this is the result. So now this is up on the screen. The patient really doesn't know whether that's good or not or what it is, but your assistant does. And now you do. And so what are you going to do about it? Well, it's kind of what he looks at on his regular lab stuff that comes back. It's cleaned up a little bit, but yeah, it's pretty rough. But then they take photos, I think, for about 9 days on these guys. So here's the third patient on the first day. And now, well, we can see pretty good margination all the way around. And that's even starting to look like a pretty decent facial margin on a tooth. But, maybe there's something gone wrong here. Well, he sends it in anyway. All right. So this is patient 9 on the third day. It's 9 patients, 9 cases that he's done. And the automatic tracer picks up a complete margin all the way around. So in 3 days, iTero's made him a better dentist, basically. You can't suffer your own mistakes looking at this when it's up on the screen. That's what it looks like today.
Yeah, that's the system we got. Is that the one we got in the back here, Mark?
Right.
Okay. The models are amazingly accurate, and so are our prints. This is a case by Dr. Ron Shoup in Kelowna. He's been working with iTero for quite some time. Just a simple gold crown case. Just click, just dropped into place. I think this is you, Steve, with the videos where you're just finishing up the prep.
So again, Giggle applies here as well. And you don't really need high technology equipment to be able to do this kind of stuff. You just need to measure it out, know what you're doing, polish to make it smooth, and then check before you turn it in or before you take an impression of it. So this is the first video James and I have ever made. The lighting's questionable.
Of course, that's my video work.
Of course.
It's blurred.
But that's just a brownie from Shofu. So we've done some depth preparation with just a regular 330 burr or something to make sure that we've got our 1.5 millimeters. And what I'd like to show you here, we're going to take a pencil at the end of this and just join the tips of the cusps. And then we find, we've got room to develop the cusp on this. This is not just a flat table that we're putting this on. We're taking time to make sure that we can, or that James can, put the anatomy back on there, that it fits, and that it's got enough support underneath it to work. That's the same one.
A second.
We could do it.
You're next.
So here, our technique was to spray the top with occlude, drop the holes in to the 1 millimeter depth, and then just join up all the holes until you can't see any of the green spots anymore. And that's the end point of our preparation for an
Ceramic onlay.
full ceramic onlay. Now what's coming up here?
We're scanning.
Oh, I never scanned. Sorry, Mark.
See it closing.
You can look away. This is not a video capture. This is single image stitching. And
Still worked.
It's still as accurate as what they've got available today. It's just a lot slower. Yeah, we don't need to see that. Okay, so here's that clearance that we've got. Yellow comes up here, about 1.7. Where the teeth touch, it's less than 1, of course, so that's what the contacts are on either side. And then we've got a little orange in there, but it's still close enough that we're going to be successful with this one in the long run. There you go. There's the lines. Give your ceramist, give the guy that's making these units for you the right kind of presentation, the right input so that you can be successful with these things. Okay, here's my case. Root canal treated tooth on a young lady with some cracks and stuff out the back. And so we're opting for a full coverage zirconia crown in this case. That's 4.6 as you're looking at it in the mirror. Do I give away the secret on this one, James?
Yeah, if you want. Actually, that's a good trivia question.
Oh, trivia time.
Trivia question coming up.
Trivia question coming up. There's my final preparation. That's tooth number 4.6.
Nice retraction.
Nice retraction. Got the cusps being able to be put in the right place. Too many times, if you don't do this, you get this huge expansion of the occlusal table in order to put the cusp out a little bit further, but then they have to be a lot shorter. Okay, I call this my pre-recessed finish. Now, if I've done this in a PFM or even the old zirconia, patient would look at that and go, why is my tooth structure shining? Why is it orange down there? I've never had anybody turn this away. It's just like, it's so natural. It looks really good. And, you know, like I said, I've never had, if you can do these Super G, it's so much easier for the long term, especially when the margins are as pristine as this. Now, trivia question, what's wrong with his crown? Docs? And whose fault is it?
It's my fault.
No. Any takers?
Anyone, everybody's afraid.
Okay.
So where's the cusp of Carabelli on this one?
Values too high. James' fault.
It's your monitor.
So in this day and age, nobody takes wax anymore. They pull down an anatomy from a catalog and plunk it into place. And if it's not in the right place, you can swap it around and you can do a bunch of different things. This is a left-handed crown on a right-handed tooth. There's the cusp.
The distal cusp is on the mesial.
The distal cusp is on the mesial. Whose fault is it? It's
Yours for
mine.
cementing it.
I put it in. I measured I felt the margins. I adjusted the occlusion and stuff on it, and I still put it in place and never realized it until we put this up on this.
You've been duped.
So the first time I showed this to James, James says, "We're not showing this. You know, that's my lab up there." I said, "Dude,
It's a good story.
It's a good story. You know, she still has it. I've never told her that it's backwards." So.
Okay, I want to show you. This is a video that Mark here threw up. What we do a lot, if you guys want to catch lots of insights on what actually happens in the lab at Ocean, Dave and myself, what we'll do is we'll actually video certain points about a case to do, not do, good stuff, not good stuff. And Mark will post it on LinkedIn or Instagram and give us a thumbs up if you've seen some of our stuff. But here's a short little video that I did about something that you have to do with any maxillary arch scan. When you are doing any smile design, it's absolutely imperative that you scan the palate and also the hamular notches. Very critical data when we're developing smiles, leveling out horizontals, and positioning the maxilla. So we're missing the palate here. That's the most important positive stop for that putty tray to seat so that the waxed up teeth will seat properly, so that we can evaluate the wax up in the mouth. And actually, when we did Mark's smile here, we did just that. All we had originally was the teeth and no tissue, no vestibular areas, palate, or anything. I said, dude, we have to rescan. So he got rescanned, and then we knocked out his wax up with accuracy. Because when that putty tray seats, we want that palate to be the primary positive stop. So on a lower, you want to make sure you get all those retromolar pads areas as much as you can, so that we have positive stops for a waxed up tray to seat. And that was the purpose of this video we put out there. There's a neat little reduction guide that we printed off on the next end, because nice little design. We just thought we'd try something new. This was Dr. San Batha's case in South Surrey there. And I never did hear how that case went, but it's finished. So anyhow, that was a really good trick there. Always scan the pallet, folks. It makes everything easier. So here's a case that we recently did for Dr. Heidi North in Whistler. So the story of this lady, she's a very successful realtor in Whistler. If anybody wants to buy property there, I'm sure I can hook you up with her. She'll help you out. Anyhow, this is part of our SMILE protocol in action. So we milled the temps here in bleach white. We treatment planned the full arch. And I was actually on a FaceTime with Maggie here in the operatory. I says, Maggie, let me see your teeth on FaceTime. And I could tell within a snap that they were just a little bit too long, the temps. So I says, look, Heidi, snap the photos. We import these photos and we remount and reevaluate how we're going to make the changes into porcelain. So once again, here are all these lipstick spots here. This is the E on the left, and then on the right, this is M. I want to see these centrals just about another half to millimeter here. Maggie wants a real dominant smile, but I said, it's too long. I felt like I was sinfully going a little too long with the temps here. So the question is, how does the clinic send the record, this record here, how do we translate that into our final design? So of course I says, okay, Heidi, what do they have at Whistler Dental? They got this system, they got an Element something.
Do they?
They've got the big, huge screen on the trolley.
Sure.
Well, they've got an iTero of some sort. Anyhow, I says, Heidi, scan upper, lower, centric bite, send the file in. Oh, yeah, she wanted sheet of whiter than your shirt, Steve. Okay, so once again, don't want that. There we go. Okay, from provisionals to finals. So this is the upper scan. Got a little bit of the palette here, but ideally I want the whole palette. Whenever we work with digital files, folks, and we're dealing with prep teeth, especially the arches, we can't just work with the teeth being scanned. We need the data around the teeth so that we can align files in software and make changes. We were able to align the files. So Heidi, what she did was a traditional PVS impression on this case for some reason, which captured the full palette, but we had to align this arch of temps with the master file. So we were able to do that with enough of the rugae area here, but ideally we would really want this. We got a good merge. So once again, we set the horizontal. This photo here, digital stick bite. This is where we're going to evaluate, are we leveling her smile to the pupillary line? In this case, her face is symmetrically nice. So we use the eyeballs, and then we drop this line down here. So this is how we set the horizontal in our 3Shape design software. This is the horizontal, it's accurate. But now we have to alter the final restorations from that, and I want to go shorter. So based on this Emma photograph here on the bottom left. So what I did here in our software here, and I think all 3Shape for softwares have it. This is called a 2D cross-section tool. It's a little icon on the far right. So we draw a line down the center of the tooth, and now I take a slice cross-section. So now as we shorten these final designs here, it's telling me exactly this is a 0.5 millimeter shorter than the temps. The purple is the temps that's been in. Yep.
Scanning pattern if they want to capture the palette accurately. I know it's a question that's probably back a little bit, but
Yeah, scan pattern. Basically, linearly over the palette. Let me try this. This is kind of handy here.
Yep.
After you do your scan pattern.
Not that way.
Oh, yeah. When it coming out of their throat, right?
From the back of the neck, yeah.
Okay. Once you have your teeth pattern here, go back and forth like this. Yeah. And back. Okay. It's handy having the stage prop here, Mark.
yeah.
Okay, good question. So here's the temporary is in purple, the provisionals, and now I can actually physically in the design software, I can see exactly how short. I'm not guessing if they're going to be the right length. I know they're going to be the right length. I know it. So sometimes when I have patients show up and I want to evaluate their temps and I go through the speech patterns, sometimes I'll take just a little bit of black felt here and I'll just draw on the temps. And then I'll measure it and I'll get a piece of data. However it takes to get that data, we want to know clinically how these teeth are going to fit in the mouth so that we can accurately translate it into the software.
Well, we got an anonymous question from somebody.
Okay.
Please explain why Emma shot is relevant. Guys 1, 2, women 2, 3.
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, so it is a good demonstration for a patient who is not cognizant of the fact that guys show less and ladies tend to show more, but it's also an age consideration. If this lady wanted that long length, it looks like a 16-year-old's teeth in somebody who's not 16 anymore. And so for age specificity, we play with that with a black felt pen or with
Adding composites sometimes.
Sometimes in one of my presentations, I'm doing the transfer of what we know onto her teeth as part of the temporary, and I messed up the time. I shortened it by 30 seconds, so I pulled it out, and they were way too long. And so I let the material set, and I pick up my burr to take it across. And so I start cutting, and the lady says, "Wait, give me a mirror." She takes a look at it, and she says, "I like the length." And I said, "We've had this conversation. I like the length. Put it back." I put it back. I ended up finishing the case to that level, and she's been happy for 15 years. So what we think and what the patient thinks is both valid, but we have to have that information. That E is not just where the position should be or could be. It's what everybody is on the same page for.
And here's a really relevant point to that question. When we're in the design stage of evaluating where the provisionals are going to be, and we use the Emma photo, and we use as a starting point. This is a starting point, folks, for evaluation when the temps are in the mouth. For men, usually we cut 1 to 2 millimeters, depending on how dominant they want their teeth to be. Typically, ladies like them a little more dominant, so 2 to 3. At the end of the day, it's a personal preference, but that guideline off of that Emma photo is a starting point. Once the temporaries are in the mouth, just as Steve says, now we go through an evaluation. This is the true test drive for the cosmetics. Do we want to change it longer, shorter? But then it's in the mouth.
Another point is that not all of us on this call have access to send our patients to meet the person that's going to make them. And so if you're shipping this from any part in British Columbia down to James, he doesn't know where the lips are, right? So it's not just a smile. It has to be that lip in repose reveal of what's available.
Exactly. Great point. So with Maggie here, we so we shorten the teeth a little bit. that was the final design. So it's from this horizontal plane, you can see in relation to this horizontal plane was the original length of the temp. So we shortened them about a half, 3/4 of a millimeter. And I do not have the final photos in because literally it was just cemented a week ago. But we're going to be getting those, of course. They'll be coming down the pipe. And the next presentation, we'll have Maggie's new smile, 010. But what I just want to stress, that scanning is such a luxury compared to like in the 90s when Steve and I were doing smiles, he'd be doing composite work up in the mouth, alginates, shipping wet impressions, and it was just so inconvenient compared to the luxuries we have today with digital dentistry. Now we can just scan.
The original Polaroid was a camera that was like this long, had to be broken into 3 pieces and put into a case to be transported.
Did you have one of those where you put the hood over your head?
No, I didn't.
So anyhow,
That was 18.
this is such a real, when we're doing smiles and full mouth rehabs, this is such a luxury of a tool to have a scanner to execute this efficiently. Okay, so question and answer time. Steve, I didn't even tell you yet, but I've personally prepared question and answer time. I hope we have a few questions come.
Any questions for Mark here?
We're just going to pour a little because this is technically it's an Ocean Ceramics webinar, not sponsored by any big company. So this is second chapter for the Syrah from the BC wineries.
From the fine people up in the Okanagan.
So we're looking forward to some questions coming in.
And everybody could pour themselves a glass.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
We got a thanks, guys.
And Dennis, if you're chimed in from Toronto, you would definitely love this red wine.
It's 11 o'clock. Go to bed.
It'll help you go to bed.
Is Dennis on?
No.
No, okay. So
That
any
is a
questions?
lovely red wine.
You like that?
Any
I
questions
like that.
from anybody?
When did you open that?
A couple hours ago.
Yeah,
It's been breathing
that's
in there
perfect.
for a while. So
We got a thank you, very informative.
Are we collecting
Money?
continuing no, what's the
Yeah,
evaluation?
there's I think a 1 CE.
yeah, I think there's a 1 or 2 hours.
And
CE
can we
there.
have an evaluation of the program?
Yeah.
Put that on.
Yeah, that'd be
the
great.
thing in the
We would
morning.
love
We would
some
love to have the
requests,
feedback. This is the first time we've done anything like
critiques.
this.
Yeah. What do you want to see next?
that would be great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Because
And if you got anything you want to ask these guys, call James or David at Ocean. Glad to answer.
Yeah, don't call me. Just kidding.
Call
yeah,
them.
we got our emails are up there on the screen.
Anytime.
Steve and I are always open to questions.
PVS impressions with putty or heavy body make a difference. Any studies?
Okay, we work with every viscosity of honeycomb that Zenith DMG puts out. The shrinkage factors of all those materials, there's a heavy body with the light, putty with the light, the medium body with the light. They're all going to shrink 0.05%. It literally comes down to a personal preference. There's no question of accuracy with any of those viscosities. It's a personal preference, and there's no right or wrong. But the tray technique is absolutely paramount to getting the best fits with.
To add to the
Yeah.
answer to the question, the makers of the materials, some are not as consistent with their testing of their materials. And so to say, is putty better than a heavy body? Well, maybe putty from honeycomb is fine. Maybe putty is different than the honeycomb from some other manufacturer. Sometimes you just can't get that information. It's the companies themselves that invest in that time and effort to present that to us. And that was about the only one you could find
Was
that
that?
day. One that had consistency across the formulations of the materials, but consistency with the stone as well.
Yeah. Well, we've been working with honeygum, and our clients have about 80% of all of our impressions coming in is honeygum. And the only material that comes close to the accuracy consistency is Impergum, but Impergum shrinks 0.05%, but it tastes like garbage, and sometimes will pull a tooth out. It's so rigid.
It's as hard as rocks.
Yeah, but it's also a fantastic material. So if everybody still logged on, or
Yeah, we still have some
any
people
more
on.
questions
We got
out there?
18 on still, so if not, we can wrap it up.
Okay, so promo code. What they were talking about. If you guys want to try a complimentary crown promotion with from your scanner, which is when you send the file in, digital fax, promo code digital fax, and we'll just send you a crown out complimentary. Another cool service I want to share with everybody: if you're looking for a same-day crown, an adjustment-free same-day crown, we have that service available via pre-book, just 1 or 2 units, posteriors, not anteriors. And sometimes if you want to have that same-day service, we need the file by 10 o'clock in the morning. And if you're within the Lower Mainland, you'll have the crown back by 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So if you need a same-day crown, a little extra cost on there for the turnaround, but it's a real luxury service to have in your back pocket for that simple posterior crown. And digital makes that happen. That's one of the benefits. We couldn't do that with a PVS impression, just for the traveling time. So the digital can make that happen. It's just called Same-Day Cyber Crown. So neat little service. Any other questions?
Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for your time this evening.
Thanks for being here.
Some feedback would be great too. So James at oceanceramics.com. Let him know how you enjoyed it, and if you would like to see some more information. And we'll see you again on the next one.
Let us know with any material you want to see, guys. Really, really enjoy that.
And follow us on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.